We need to talk about Bloomburrow. I know almost absolutely nothing about this set, except the fact that its art style is seemingly made for spastic neurodivergent 25-year-old god chicks who secretly like cutesy things, which is a serious problem. What is it, Wizards? The rip-off Xenobite Pyrexian crap did not work out, and now you're thinking, well, if the Xenobite stuff didn't work out, well, maybe we're gonna go full retarded with the cutesy stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of problems with this, and I haven't even seen the cards. Worst part about this is the absolute rift between players and collectors and players who play the cardboard version of this game, which is becoming a problem and is going to absolutely probably explode when the new guy takes over Wizards of the Coast, who is actually, the guy who ran Hearthstone and World of Warcraft. So, yeah, we need to talk about a lot of stuff.
Bloomburrow is already being hailed as one of the best Magic the Gathering sets in recent years. Not only
Which is, by the way, technically the professor is right, but I mean, one of the recent set is Giorgio Pacana's Streets of Mini Capana, which was probably the most horrible set of Magic printed ever in my lifetime that I have honestly seen. It was atrocious. So, Bloomburrow being good doesn't exactly tell me anything.
is the set jam-packed with sweet designs for a wide variety of formats and strategies, but
one of the things that's gonna happen when the guy from Blizzard takes over Wizards, see, Blizzard takes over Wizards, is gonna be, you're gonna see a lot of things. Currently, Magic the Gathering has a problem. One, there's almost no player base for it. It was one of the first games out there. Well, it was pretty much the first card game out there, and it completely squandered all its potential. With stupid mechanics like lands, designs that absolutely make no sense, and gimmick mechanics that absolutely everyone hates. I can already see a gimmick mechanic right here. And yeah, look at these cards. This spell costs one less for to cast for each permanent sacrifice this way. An additional cost of the spell, you may sacrifice any number of non-land permanents. Who's gonna play this garbage? Well, the answer probably is, considering this is a professor video, pauper players. Or some kind of other people who are literally countable on one hand because they do not exist. Listen, Magic the Gathering's future is digital. Only digital. There's gonna be still packs that you can buy if you're a collector and investor, and you can probably do that until the day you die. But the future of this game is gonna be 100% digital. Because when Arena came out, all of its potential was absolutely instantaneously squandered and wasted by Blizzard's, no, Wizards. Same thing at this moment, seriously. It was completely squandered by their absolutely poor and atrocious decision making. And, well, other problems that plague this thing. But the future is digital. There is absolutely no question about it. My prediction is that niche formats like Pauper are still gonna exist, but hopefully Wizards of the Coast no longer actually look in their direction at all. Because you can't have a game that has 15 game modes that, only 2 game modes have an actual player base, aka Standard, aka Commander. Everything else is niche. These formats need to be trimmed, and I think they're gonna be trimmed. Or at least cards for these formats are not going to be specifically designed, which will be awesome in my opinion, because I care about Standard and a little bit about Commander. Commander's a completely awesome format. I love it, but, I'd much rather honestly play Standard.
but the limited format from sealed to draft looks fantastic.
Vigilance Haste 3 cost. When this becomes a target of spell or ability you control for the first time each turn, put a 1/1 counter on it. Garbage. Complete garbage. Well, actually, no, it has haste, so maybe it's not garbage. Who knows? Probably still garbage.
too. But whether you are headed to your local game store for pre-release or just participating,
Absolutely no one is heading to their local game store for pre-release. It's just truth. It's just truth, okay? Magic is going to have a lot of changes. And cardboard is probably more on its way out than in. Because keep in mind, what do you think is more lucrative for Wizards of the Coast? Making cardboard, shipping fees, all of that stuff. They probably don't even own the printing machines they're printing this bad boy on, okay? What do you think is better for them? Paying for all of that garbage and working with other companies, or selling it digitally? The answer is obviously digitally. And I embrace that future. But again, don't worry. Cardboard fans, you're still going to be able to collect stuff. But no one is heading to their local game store to buy this garbage, okay? That's just the truth, okay? Listen, the fact that we know that Magic the Gathering's size of print runs, and it's pitifully small, it's not even worth talking about the size of the your average printer and how many boxes get made. We know it doesn't have a large appeal. We know it doesn't have a large appeal. And then after the print run happens, everyone complains about evil investors and people who buy boxes to resell them later for a higher price. Which means the player base is even less than that.
participating in a draft at Friday Night Magic, a new limited environment such as this can be daunting. Don't worry though, whether you are playing sealed or participating in a Bloomburrow draft, Tolarian Community College is here to help. This video is meant to serve as a guide to your first few drafts of Bloomburrow Limited. The guide will assume you already know how to draft.
By the way, why is this important? By the way, I do not know how to draft. I have done it once. I absolutely detested it. I hated it, and I thought it was a waste of my time. It is true. Anyway, why? Because Drafted Whatnot is supposed to be a completely different format that looks at, completely different cards that people put value in. And that is one of the problems that I see with this game. Too many formats need cards. What do you get at the end? Well, you get bloat. You get a bunch of commons and uncommons that literally 1 out of 1,000 cards are just good. And typically it is the mono black 2-cost instant removal card. And that's it. Other than that, there's literally nothing to even talk about there. Unless, it's some kind of, 2-cost green ramp card maybe.
Magic the Gathering set, and that you are aware of some basic strategy.
I am not.
Removal is good, evasive creatures are good, card advantage is good. If you would like a reminder from square one, you can always view our new players draft guide video here. The information contained in this video will also be useful if you are participating in a Bloomburrow pre-release, but it is primarily focused on drafting the set. That said, this video does not lay out a hard and fast set of rules, as Bloomburrow is a brand new set, and as of the recording of this video, no one outside of Wizards of the Coast has drafted it yet. However, by looking...
My assumption is, by the way, that Wizards haven't also done that.
at each card in context with the set as a whole, you can develop a pretty good baseline understanding for what the format is all about. And so this video will serve to answer questions such as, what are the archetypes and keywords that you need to know in order to succeed in Bloomburrow Limited? Is this an aggressive format or a grindy one? High synergy...
As always, aggressive. Well, actually, when a new thing gets released on its own, it's probably not that aggressive, but but the rotation is happening. When the rotation typically happens, Control kind of has the edge, because all of the... Typically how aggro works is, there's a bunch of sets, and all of these sets have like a mythic or a rare card that is absolutely pivotal to the success of the aggro deck. And, well, when the rotation happens, those cards always get removed. But the good removal pretty much stays always still there for, Control players. So, Control is probably going to be good for a while, until people really figure out the really good aggro decks for every format.
or low? Can you easily draft a multicolor deck, or should you stick to a 2-color pair? What are some of the best cards in the format, and how should you build around them if you are fortunate enough to open them? All those questions and more are what's in store, so let's take a look.
I really wonder if the new direction that this game is going to soon go is going to get rid of lands, or introduce a format where you don't have to deal with lands. Lands are by far the worst mechanic in gaming history. Now, don't get me wrong, it's cool that lands exist, because, you know, it's kind of cool that you can place a land and it does stuff if you don't have anything to do, but other games try to make it that you have things to do. Which is kind of better than, you know, saying, well, this completely useless draw that sets you back a turn. Let's put on an effect on that bad boy, because that's gonna be... No, it's not. It's trash. Land. Listen, if you're gonna try and defend the existence of lands, I don't even know what to say. Okay, I don't know what to say. Lands are by far one of the absolute worst mechanics ever created in gaming, definitely ever created in a card game. Lands have no excuse. Lands alone make this game 100% RNG based. There is nothing you can do if your opponent top decks something that gives them draw or a passive advantage, and you just draw 3 lands in a row and have no play. There is no amount of skill that's gonna make up for that difference.
But first, are you a fan of the artwork of Aaron Miller?
No.
Aaron has created some of the most iconic Magic the Gathering card art over the years, including, but not...
Also, I hate the direction of the card art very much. Like, the Xenobite garbage fucking Cthulhu Mythos. Well, that wasn't even Cthulhu Mythos. It was like it was a cheap attempt at body horror that we got with Pyrexia and all of that garbage. It was so cheap. It felt so bad. Because Magic, listen, card art matters in all games, but in Magic it matters especially a lot, because when your neurodivergent mono-red deck play, it takes 15 seconds to drop their first land on turn 1, there's not really much else to do than look at card art. So Magic has an extremely high need for actually good and likable card art, which we are not getting. And this cutesy bullshit is also not that cheap, okay? This Burrow Helm, Burrow Bloom card style is not it, okay? Completely not it. I have the feeling that the people who made this looked at Hearthstone and were like, yes, party in Karazhan. It's Karazhan, but a party. Woo, 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 woo. Yeah, no one gives a shit, because, you know, it at least has lore, okay, attached to it, so people are forgiving of that. It didn't actually make it great. It kind of made it stupid, dull, and childish, but, you know, Magic does that, but 10 times worse. It's really a lot worse, okay? Why can't we just have a normal adult team, okay? Listen, people who are playing Magic are on average 25 to, I don't know, 1 billion years old at this point. Most people who play this game, you can literally see chunks of sand falling off them, okay? And what do we get? Some kind of spastic art? No! No!
Limited to one of the best partner commanders, Crom, Ludovic's Opus, as well as the gorgeous Judge promo of...
What was this? By the way, this is all for fun. The professor does things for fun, which we obviously look down upon because we are competitive gamers here that only see this game as win, 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 win when we're not having fun. You know it's true. Whenever an opponent casts his or her, ha ha! It has pronouns in the card! Why? Why did I read this? I feel bad about my life now. Whenever the opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. Wow. Okay, very cool. Very cool for 5 mana. Who fucking actually used it? Well, okay, people play Commander for fun. I play actually Commander for fun, but that's not why I'm playing it, because Wizards completely ruined Commander with their bullshit.
As well as the gorgeous Judge promo of Enlightened Tutor, my personal favorite commander, Cassetto, and so many more awesome.
Oh, let's judge the professor by his personal favorite commander. Snake Wizard, respectable. Target creature can be blocked this turn if there is a snake. Okay, I respect the snake thing, but this is kind of weak. But then again, I think this is just for fun. Acceptable-ish, kind of.
And so many more awesome pieces.
That's good art, by the way. Look at that. That is good art. You don't get that nowadays.
So many more awesome pieces over the years. Well, now Aaron Miller has launched a Kickstarter for limited edition.
Well, you do get that, but you know, not enough.
Playmats, as well as sweet custom tokens featuring his amazing artwork. His Kickstarter is called Crombat, and it's the sponsor of today's video. Aaron Miller's Kickstarter.
Aaron Miller, I actually love your art. Sponsor me.
Has a ton of different tiers of support
it's
for a variety
amazing.
of pledge amounts starting at just $30, which will get you 15 custom foil tokens and 1 mystery artist proof card from Aaron Miller's collection.
What the hell is a mystery art? What is a proof card?
Check out these tokens. There's treasure tokens, storm count tokens, bird tokens, and evocative floating mana tokens for each color of mana. Simply gorgeous. Oh, and this also includes colorless for all you Eldrazi fans out there. For $40, you can sign up for his Pick One Playmat tier to receive a high-quality playmat of your choice, or $75 to pick 2 playmats. Every tier also comes with that mystery artist proof card from Aaron Miller's collection. And just look at this amazing playmat art. Decadent Dragon.
Okay, but
let's begin by talking through the keywords of this set. Whether you're
yes, Daddy, give it to me. I want to know all of the bad shit that's going to be relevant for one single expansion, and then it's going to be complete trash. Or maybe it's going to be complete trash the moment it arrives, okay? The last time they actually made a set have a meaningful keyword, or whatever you want to call it, was Into the Dungeon. I actually really enjoyed the D&D thing because it worked. There was a bunch of ways that you can make them, and Alchemy honestly even made it better. Yeah, one of the rare things that Alchemy did correctly. Thankfully, Alchemy's dead, by the way. Jesus, that was fucking painful. Wizards completely blew that. They had a chance to actually do something good. They had a chance to create a format where they can just fix broken and non-broken cards, and instead of that, you know what they did? Well, you know what they did. They just tried to sell you even more broken and busted cards because reasons. God, I hate that. I hate Wizards so much.
Sitting down to draft at Friday Night Magic, or you're just opening up 6 packs for pre-release sealed, you'll need to know what the
I can't, I want someone to buy them out, okay? Listen, I literally have Wizards stock just for the sole intent purposes that someone's gonna buy them out.
Cards you're looking at actually do. Not only is it important to understand...
Because I absolutely do not believe that Wizards of the Coast is competent. Now, we're gonna have a new guy running the ship, but, I mean, the ship's already at the bottom of the goddamn ocean, so, you know. Now, not saying that that makes it easier to make it, you know, better, but, you know, it's already bad. I don't know how much can be done to improve this situation.
And how each keyword works. There are also some strategic quirks to each keyword that are useful to keep in mind as you draft or build your deck. Expend. Expend is a new mechanic in Bloomburrow found on red and green cards. The mechanic rewards you for spending a certain amount of mana in a single turn. In this
you expend 4 as you...
set, all but...
Wait. I completely don't understand what expand does. Expend, not expand. Whenever you expend 4, you expend 4 as you spend your 4 total mana to cast spells during a turn. Ah, Oh, got it.
That all but one expend ability triggers at expend 4. Expend is an example of the best kind of limited mechanic, one that rewards you for doing something you already should be doing. In the case of expend, that thing...
So it's a win harder mechanic, effectively. This shit is extremely dangerous, and this is already a completely horrible mechanic. This is effectively werewolves all over again. If you remember Innistrad, you know, whatever it's called, werewolves were an extremely oppressive, completely dumb deck. Because if you were playing control and you queued into werewolves, werewolves got to go first, and they had a really good turn 2. Well, they had any turn 2 play, honestly, and God forbid they had a turn 1 play. And then turn 3, they dropped a werewolf that draws cards for every time you get hit by a werewolf. Listen, okay, listen. If you were playing control and you could not remove those cards instantaneously and it became night, you just lost the game. It's an extremely oppressive win more type of, well, that was already an oppressive mechanic. You know, if you were unlucky and it became nighttime, when werewolves were actually good, you just instantaneously lost. There was simply nothing to do. Because the whole point of the nighttime mechanic is, hey, if nighttime occurs, you get really stronger. Because the downside is supposed to be, hey, you kind of skip a turn to make nighttime occur, and that's a big deal. But what if your opponent just doesn't have anything to play? The mechanic completely does not account for that. And this is effectively, hey, you have a turn 1 play? Oh good, here's an expand mechanic. Expand. Here's a turn 2 card. Here's a turn 3 card. Oh, your opponent didn't have anything to actually do against you in that time? Well, now I spent 4 mana and I'm literally 15 turns ahead of you because RNG. This is already a horrible win more mechanic.
You should already be doing is spending all of your mana every turn. You'll notice that the red-green pair has a lot of mana dorks and other cards that...
They typically always do. What is this? Whenever you expand 4, put the counter, blah blah. Okay, is everything just expand 4? By the way, it does work with mana dorks, so that's a thing. Blazing Collector. Raccoon Row. Like, look at this. I don't want... Dude, we're in a world where the lore is that there's women who wear jeans, shoot arrows, and the arrows turn into green animals. Where there's dragons destroying the goddamn Omniverse. Where an evil goo just magically turns everything to Xenobites. And when the evil goo is defeated because, insert MacGuffin here, everyone turns back from a metallic Xenobite to their original form because the writers are incompetent and they can't afford to lose any significant characters. Okay? And now we have this. Oh yeah, in a world where gods walk among you, there's a mole druid making flowers. Literally, I want to kick this thing with my foot real hard, okay? And I love animals. I would kick 100 billion people before harming an animal, typically. But I'm making an exception.
Generate mana. These can help you expend 4 as early as turn 3.
Yay!
Forage is another new mechanic in Bloomburrow. Forage appears on green and black cards. To forage, you either must exile 3 cards from your graveyard or sacrifice a food.
Wait a minute, this sounds awfully like a mechanic that we already had, like collect evidence. And God, stop trying to make food tokens a thing. They're not a thing.
The thing about forage is that every green or black deck...
So you can either just 3 cards or sacrifice a food. Okay.
Will be capable of foraging at some point in the game, even if they're not a dedicated forage deck. Plenty of cards make food.
You know what forage effectively is here, by the way? It is... He actually... the professor said it and it instantaneously clicked in my mind. Forage is just one more dumb way of trying to make it that people don't actually just, sit there, draw 3 cards in a row and lose because reasons. It's just one more attempt at actually making... Dude, literally everything Wizards does is just some kind of covert way of trying to pretend that the lands are not a problem and don't ruin the game. That's literally it. This is where we are now in life. This is just how it works. It's absolute insanity, okay? So, yeah. Great stuff, great stuff.
Food, and even if you don't have a food to sacrifice, the natural progression of the game will fill your graveyard with stuff to exile. That said, most forage cards are...
You know what's my favorite part? Wizards have had this the solution for this forever, and that is called having cards that have different have one card that has 2 mana costs. Your virtues of persistence, effectively. It has an early game use, which is extremely good for mono black because you like removal in mono black, and it has a late game purpose to resurrect cards in the graveyard. And guess what? Everyone loves these cards. All cards that have dual purposes, like you can cast this card for 2 mana and it has some kind of shitty early effect, or you can cast it for 5 or 6 and it has a late game power spike. Those cards are amazing. But Wizards is never gonna do that, especially because the existence of Arena. Because how the hell do you rig a game where people are given choices? Well, the answer is you can't rig a game no longer. Okay? Listen, in some situations, you literally are starved on 2 lands, not a single play 6 turns in, and your opponent wins. And that's because that opponent is too brain damaged to win on their own. So, adding a choice to be made for every card, that just sounds like there's going to be people with close to 100% win rate, and people close to a 0% win rate because they're just that dumb.
They're not very good if you don't forage with them. So do make sure to pick up some food generation or ways to mill yourself in draft. Forage is one of 2 graveyard synergy mechanics in the set. I'll talk about the other one in just a moment.
Let's go.
Gift is one of 2 new Bloomburrow mechanics that are a variant of the kicker mechanic. With Gift, the kicker cost is a beneficial effect you may choose to promise your opponent as you cast the spell. If the spell resolves, the gift is given first. Then the rest of the card's effects happen. Gift cards come in all 5 colors, and the vast majority...
What is the fish? You may promise an opponent a gift as you cast the spell. If you do, they create a tapped 1/1 blue fish creature token. Additional cost to this spell, discard a card. Target play draws 2 cards. If a gift was promised target. Oh, so there is a choice, huh? So if you give your opponent something good in the hood, then, you get a stronger effect? Is that the point? Gift a card. You may promise an opponent gift. If you do, they draw a card before. Oh, counter target creature spell if the gift is promised. Instead, counter target. Oh, listen. Control's already kind of fucking unviable, but now you created a card like this that's literally a counter spell when most of the useful counter spells are gonna be rotating out probably, and this literally gives your opponent card advantage over you. Yeah, bro, listen. Long Rivers pull, and you're playing against Red? Sure. That's just giving... Oh my god.
Gift your opponent either a drawn card or a tapped 1/1 fish token. These 2 gifts in particular are very real costs, which is why
this mechanic is not gonna last. So... already this is an absolute, completely unreasonable farce of failure. So, the expand, yeah, finally said it right. The expand mechanic is a win more type of werewolf mechanic that we have already experienced, and it's sad. Forages, okay, play value Golgari and have a good time. And gift is not going to be used almost by anyone because its downsides are too good. Because chances are there's going to exist cards with the same effect without the downsides. And people are hyped about this set. I'm sorry. This is already a failure of well, it depends on what the cards actually have on them. These are just a couple of things. Plus, these are cheap shit tier, you know, commons, uncommons.
Gift is greater on average than what you'd gain from the average kicker cost in another set. Even so, you should be very cautious when giving your opponent a gift. Giving your opponent a tapped fish is something you should usually only do if the spell you're casting is allowing you to swing in for a massive attack, especially if that attack is lethal. There's a lot of recursive spells in this format with gift a card. If you believe the
gift a card, you may promise an opponent gift a card. Caster's turn. Wait, do you just give them your card? The hell? Gift a card. You make promise if you do. Oh no, they draw a card. Oh, so gift a card is just they draw. Okay. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and this costs 5. Are you kidding me? Then, if the gift was promised and that creature isn't legendary, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1. Okay, this is actually a decent card, not gonna lie. But again, they draw? That's insane. Return up to 2 target creature cards with monetary value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. The gift was promised. Instead, return up to 3 target creature cards. Oh yeah, great. Oh, great. Let's just continue on with the Azorius Reanimator stupidity. I'm pretty sure the monk doesn't rotate out, right? Target runs. Wait. Gift. Okay, yes, fine. Opponent sacrifices a creature with greater power amongst creatures. If the gift was promised, return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. Psst, trash. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand if the gift was promised. Instead, return target two target permanent cards. Trash. I guess this is good in what's it called? Pauper and other formats dumb like that. Also, by the way, what we actually see here is very strange. So this card is a little bit interesting because you know what this does? It actually kind of forces the game to be longer. I guess that's what they're kind of going for. But in reality, this is like, okay, I'm gonna gift a card, my opponent's gonna receive value, and then it's gonna be their turn, and they're gonna use that value while I'm stuck doing nothing. It almost seems like a good idea for some of these cards, but the downsides are just gonna be so tremendous.
The extra creature or other permanent you're returning with these spells is...
Oh, actually, maybe Consumed by Greed is not gonna be that bad, because the rotation's happening. And I remember when the rotation happened last time in Standard. 3-cost... bro, a 3-cost sorcery removal was actually pretty good because it was one of those rare ways to deal with artifacts, if I'm not mistaken, for black. So maybe this actually can see play, who knows?
Better than the average card your opponent can draw from their deck, you should gift them a card so that you can get your great card back. If you have a Jolly Gerbils in play, then you should feel confident giving a gift virtually every time you cast a gift spell, since drawing an additional card on top of the benefits from your gift giving more than makes up for the downside. Offspring. The second new iteration on Kicker is the Offspring mechanic. Offspring appears on creatures of all colors. It's an additional cost you can pay when you cast the spell. If you do, then when the creature enters play, you create a copy of that creature that's a 1/1 token. Keep in mind that the token has the same mana cost.
Can you Cauldron and gain the No, that does not work.
As the original creature. This is an extremely powerful ability.
When this creature enters target... Yeah, it is a powerful. It's definitely a completely OP ability, honestly. Wow, yeah, this is busted.
Unlimited. Many creatures in the set are still excellent as 1/1s, so getting to have 2 of them is certainly worth the extra cost you pay in order to cast them. You should almost always wait to cast your Offspring cards until you can afford to pay the Offspring cost. The exception to this is if you aren't certain you'll have the mana to cast the Offspring card on curve, or that you feel you can't afford to wait that long to cast your spell. The existence of Offspring also make cards that care about tokens a lot better in Bloomburrow than they would be in another set, either by buffing them or specifically removing them. Threshold. Threshold is a returning mechanic that buffs a permanent when you have 7 or more
Jesus, there's so many dumb mechanics here.
cards in your graveyard. In Bloomburrow, Threshold appears on blue and black cards. Because Threshold and Forage are both in the format, there's a lot of self-mill in the set.
Wait. How does Threshold work again? Whenever a looter deals combat damage, draw a card, then discard a card unless 7 or more cards in your graveyard. Huh? Draw a card and discard. Oh, got it. So it's a beneficial effect that has a downside that mitigates it. But if you have 7 cards in your graveyard, it just works. Todd Howard has blessed us with his, well, nothing, honestly. You know, that's fine.
Buffs a permanent when you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard. In Bloomburrow, Threshold appears on blue and black cards. Because Threshold and Forage are both in the format, there's a lot of self-mill in the set. Keep in mind that while self-mill cards help enable both Forage and Threshold, the two mechanics are actually at odds with one another, as each time you exile 3 cards to Forage, you'll...
Well, to be fair, there's a lot of different stuff that's kind of interesting as cards, just in general, I guess. But, again, we have so many bad mechanics. There's no point in introducing the gift mechanic if it's going to be way too niche to actually use, or the gift cards are going to be completely OP. The Offspring mechanic is just blatantly not going to be used unless, except for like 2 cards in the whole goddamn format that are just completely busted. And all of this is kind of making... well, control unviable. Yeah, the Offspring mechanic is especially egregious because every Offspring card that's going to be used is going to be blatantly, completely busted. And, well, the fact that it makes you, the fact that it's busted and if it's cast, and your opponent doesn't have removal for it if they're playing control, aka they need to use 2 removal for 1 card, that is just, yeah. I have a feeling control's just being thrown out the window again. They already added the stupid tribal cave that doesn't allow your stuff to be counterspelled. Dude, everything that Wizards does is just a slow step-by-step process to remove control from being even a viable way of play style. Okay? And people currently hate control because... well, how many... dude, every time I see someone play White, I'm instantaneously PTSDing out of my goddamn mind that someone's gonna farewell me. Okay? You know that happens absolutely every video. Farewell is just bad. Sunsfall is just bad. So, yeah, everyone hates control. Control hates control. I hate myself, just on a general level. But, you know, point being... yeah, no wonder Wizards wants to get rid of control. Okay, what is this threshold? Mentor is if it's 7 more cards in the graveyard, then up to 1 thing. Okay, so this is just a bad effect. Whenever you forage, put a 1/1 counter on. Blah blah blah. Okay.
Cut into your ability to reach Threshold. Lastly, we have Valiant. Valiant is a new mechanic appearing on red and white cards that's reminiscent of the Heroic mechanic originally from Theros Block. Unlike Heroic,
whenever this becomes static, the spell or ability you control for the first time, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Oh, great! That's just putting gas in a deck that doesn't require gas because it already has gas.
Valiant only triggers once per turn, but because of that, you can expect to usually receive a better benefit from Valiant than you would from a similar Heroic card. Valiant also triggers off abilities, whereas Heroic just triggers off spells. Valiant makes any permanent that targets your creatures every turn for 0 mana significantly stronger than they otherwise would be. Keep in mind that you can also do things like ping your own 2+ toughness
Playful Shove deals damage to any target, draw a card.
creature with Playful Shove
Mouse
in order to
bar.
trigger Valiant. Archetypes. In any limited environment, it's critical to know what each of the color pairs is trying to do so that you can build a more cohesive deck. But in Bloom,
same thing that they're always doing. Literally everything. Okay, listen, the only unique pair of colors that does anything nowadays is Dimmer because they kind of mill. And that's it. Because other color combinations can't mill. Dimmer's the only one. Everything else is everything else. Listen, there's Boros control, there's Golgari control, there's this control, there's Azorius control, then there's mid ranges, every deck has mid range, and then there's aggro, everything has aggro. Color uniqueness doesn't really matter that much, okay? The only uniqueness now is like, Boros is a bit more aggressive than Golgari, but Golgari has, big tricks in the late game and some reanimation. There you go, that's the difference. What does Azorius have? Fuck do I know? No one knows. It's completely abandoned color. Oh yeah, by the way, remember that Izzet exists? Yeah, neither do I. That color just needs to be removed from the game because no one likes it. Oh god. Listen. Fix colors, okay, Wizards? Fix them, okay? Jesus. Okay? Maybe stop removing and doing useless stuff like getting rid of Stone Throw or whatever that card is called because it's problematic, and start actually adding uniqueness to the game. How about them potatoes? I am so done. Bloomburrow. I mean, listen. At the end of the day, it all just depends on what all the cards do. I have not read any cards. I'm gonna do it when the set releases, and then we're gonna see what happens. But, until that point, hey, let's hope that there's not going to be anything too oppressive. What am I talking about? The Wizards literally printed Sheldred and made Invoke Despair. Anyway, I think I'm out. That was the Professor. Talarian Community College. It's community because of a good reason, not because of the bad one. Anyway, have a nice day. Bye-bye.